Taylor Swift's astrology birth chart and some of the astrology weather that is influencing her newest era, the life of a showgirl. Okay, so the trickiest thing about Taylor's chart is that we do not have a confirmed birth time for her. And I fear that we may never will because she would never confirm such a thing. I just want to say, Taylor, if you're out there, I will sign that NDA and I would never give it away. But anyway, she is an unconfirmed Scorpio rising. If she were a Scorpio rising, it would make a lot of sense because she would have her sun in the second house of music. Sabrina Carpenter also has that as well, and like people who have second house energy tend to be very musically talented because it is kind of associated with the energy of Taurus, which is the zodiac sign most closely associated with music and Venus. And also, if she were a Scorpio rising, she would have a lot of energy in her third house of writing, and we all know that she is one of the most prolific writers ever exist. Especially with a lot of ninth house energy, like she's a little witchy, and I don't know if a lot of people realize that, but as a witchy girl myself, takes one to know one, but that ninth house energy would explain a lot of it. After watching her 2-hour interview on that podcast, I'm not sure if she's a Scorpio rising. Like, definitely you can see her Cancer moon and Jupiter conjunction in the way that she's very close to her mom. She has a really strong relationship with all of her family, and it's, very positive. She's always been into baking. Like, I remember reading little Taylor Swift books in middle school about like how she likes to bake and like her hobbies outside of, what she does. And that has remained highly consistent throughout her entire life. So she definitely has that Cancer moon. For sure, the Sagittarius energy is especially why like baby Taylor, young Taylor was so like petty for a lack of a better term. Also, Sagittarius energy is a little witchy too. Think Casey Musgraves-ish. Another thing about her chart is that if she is a Scorpio rising, she would have Pluto right in her first house. The first house is literally the rising sign. Either way, because we don't have her confirmed birth time, I do kind of want to stay away from a lot of the analysis based on an inaccurate time. Regardless, in her birth chart, she has Lilith, she has Juno, she has Pluto, and she also has a Mars. All of this energy in the sign of Scorpio. Very loose Pluto-Mars conjunction. So I know this sounds like astrology gibberish to a lot of y'all, but let me break it down. So Lilith is kind of like the repressed woman. It's kind of where you need to find rebellion because it is necessary for your survival because people are kind of trying to put you into a box. It being very close to Juno, which is all about commitment, most specifically marriage. It's almost like people and like the media in general throughout her entire career, just me witnessing as a fan, from childhood, is like people have really criticized her desire for love. They have also criticized her reaction to the very like horrible things that some of her lovers have done to her. And anyone with a Mars-Pluto conjunction, with Mars being the planet of career, you can tell that she's going to be a very powerful person. Another thing I'd like to mention is that Justin Bieber is also a Scorpio rising, and I'm pretty sure his birth time is accurate, and he has Pluto right on his ascendant too. If she is a Scorpio rising, it kind of would check out that like some of the most powerful people in their generation would be, the same sign as Pluto is. Also has Venus in Aquarius, and something that I've noticed that she's done from the very early days of her career is that she's always kind of been collecting data on like what is the most powerful and heartfelt way for me to connect with my audience. She's always kind of been ahead of the curve. Like a lot of people really discouraged her from marketing her albums on MySpace back in the day, and she used MySpace right as it was blowing her up. She kind of does the same with all of the social media engines. She was an avid user of Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok now. Like communities in general, as in her Swifties, which would be like a community of people. Aquarius energy is associated with communities like that, and she has Venus there. That's where her natural talents lie. She is very good. Even her boyfriend Travis Kelce said it himself. Like, she's very good at making you feel very connected to her. Like, in a huge stadium of people, you can feel like you're still her best friend and you're still having a very personal connection with her. I also feel like the Cancer moon conjunction thing is to blame for this too. So the moon in astrology is all about your emotions and kind of like what you need. I've written about this in my book, Astrology Crash Course, how when the moon is in a very powerful position, the most powerful place it can be is literally in Cancer, and it's next to the most positive planet that it can be, which is also placed in a sign that it loves to be in, which is Cancer. It functions very well there. When you have the moon very close to a very powerful planet and they're both operating super well, of course it would create the type of person who their emotions and the way that they process things and the things that have hurt them in life, being Chiron, and the things that they need to heal are in part almost responsible for her success in a way. Her biggest superpower is to tap into her emotions and expressing her emotions and being vulnerable in a world that just thinks they're too cool for everything. That's why no matter how much loud hate you might see for her on the internet or with, just casual people and conversations, there's a million more people who love her because they see themselves in her. Like, she's almost like a funnel for expression. A world that doesn't necessarily give you permission to do that. We can see that in the way that the media has tried to repress that, Lilith, for so long. Especially because her North Node is in Aquarius, like, she is meant to, like, bring people together. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if, like, the Swifties and, like, bringing people together is a huge part of her legacy. And the North Node, by the way, is all about your life purpose and things like that. South Node being in the energy of Leo, which is literally the energy of the celebrity. It can show that, she's been famous for a very long time. She's been famous from a very young age. That's also associated with the South Node. But ultimately, that fame was kind of to funnel to bring people together through her creations, especially because her North Node is ruled by Saturn. Is nestled in Capricorn, very close to the energy of Neptune. And Neptune is all about creativity, but Neptune very specifically is about the celebrity too. Lots of celebrities have very prominent Neptune placements in their chart. Look how Mercury is there too. And with her being one of the greatest songwriters to ever exist. Literally, I can keep going. Like, her chart is just very fascinating whether we have her official birth time or not. Uranus is also there, and look at her challenging the norm. She's even changed up the norms of, like, what it means to own your music and your masters. She's woken up the artists. Literally, I can keep going, but I'm starting to run out of time because I can only do 10 minutes on this video on TikTok. So let's start talking about some of the current astrology weather that is impacting her latest era. I knew personally because I'm just obsessed with astrology. Literally, I wrote a whole book on astrology and I'm obsessed with it and it's my favorite thing ever. And this is literally the cover of my book, Astrology Crash Course, Astrology Bible. I knew when Jupiter went into Cancer, I knew that Taylor had that sign. I knew something was coming, okay? Taylor is currently having what we call a Jupiter return, and this is extremely positive for her, okay? Because first of all, Jupiter operates so well in the sign of Cancer. It's one of its favorite places to be. Think about how good of a mood you are if you were in Tahiti somewhere. That's how Jupiter is functioning. I find it interesting that she got all of her music back during a Jupiter return. Jupiter returns are basically when Jupiter returns to the very exact same spot that it was when you were born. This represents a time where you are winning, you are on top, fortune is favoring you at the moment. And also because she has her moon and Chiron super close to Jupiter, it would make sense that she is healing because she got her music back. Also, whenever Jupiter is on your moon, it kind of brings very positive things. It brings very positive things for you emotionally. Hence, she's in a very stable and loving relationship. Her career is on top. And she got all of her music stolen during her Saturn return. In much the same way that Ariana Grande was absolutely dragged through the mud while she was filming Wicked during her Saturn return as well. The thing about the Saturn return is that it's all about your life's work. It's kind of about your legacy, right? So if Taylor's Saturn return hadn't happened, where someone secretly, Neptune, kind of stole her work, Mercury, there were a lot of roads in her career that she wouldn't have gone down had none of that happened. I mentioned that current Jupiter in the sky is also opposing her Saturn by sign. It's almost like the energy of the blessing planet Jupiter is patting Saturn, her hard lessons, on her back, saying, hey, it's okay, the lessons had a meaning.